Welcome to Weird Wednesday. Hello, Aerik Arkadian. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing, Christiana? It's good to be back.
Yeah, it's so good to see you. And welcome to everyone who's joining us, whether you are joining us for the live stream or watching the replay. So happy to have you here. Aerik's been joining me pretty much monthly. To teach me runes, because after 40 years of being a tarot reader, I've decided I wanted to learn runes. So, what have you been up to since last we spoke, Aerik?
Well, a lot of things have happened, but noteworthy events. I just had my second class in the WitchÅs Toolkit series. So we started with the power of sound a month ago, and I did a class on magical fluid condensers last week. And next month is the final class in the series, which is intuitive reading with the runes. So that's pretty exciting and kind of ties into a lot of what we're going to be talking about today, I think. So if anybody is interested in that class, just to plug it for a second, if you sign up, you will get the previous classes, and then you'll get access to the next live session on runes. And you can find that at my website, erikarkadian.com/classes, if you want to get any more info. So what have you been up to?
Oh my goodness. A few things, especially rune related, that I've been like, I have had very itchy fingers wanting to reach out and tell you some things that have been happening, but I didn't. I wanted to save it for here, so I'm happy to be speaking with you. I do want to let people know that the link to your website is right in the description. So they can go there and then get to your classes and get that ticket. When is that next live class?
Oh, it is at the end of August. I am terrible with dates, so
Okay.
I don't remember it right off the top of my head, but it's in about 3 or 4 weeks.
Fair enough. All right. So very quickly after we last met, I had someone who's been a regular client for a very long time reach out to book a very long session with me, like a multiple hour session in person. And, you know, when you work with someone over the course of like 10 years, you know them well. So I figured, this is going to be a big deal. And for some reason, and I've never done this with anyone, certainly never done it with this client, I decided I wanted to start the session with 3 runes. And I gave him my bag of rune stones, and I said, just please pull 3. And we talked about them. We started the session with them, and they were incredibly pertinent to the lengthy session that we did. And now I'm turning them into a bind rune to send to him as a symbol. So that gave me some confidence. And with 2 other in-person people, at the end, I had them pull 3 stones, 3 runes from the bag. And in each case, it was kind of cool. Like I feel a little more confident. Now, later on today, we're going to be doing readings. So we'll see how confident I am in that moment. But I am feeling more confident. And I did find my original rune book. This is from, it's old. You can see, oh my goodness, where did you go? Where did you go? There you are. Let me bring you back. There you are. Let's bring you back. Here you are. Okay, good. Hi. Did my book scare you away?
I guess so.
Look at this. You had recommended this author. And this book has been on my shelf forever. 1990 is when it came out, and I think I got it right about then. And I've been using it for bind runes all of this time. Now, you had said that it's a really good idea to pick one book that you're going to listen to. I confess I have not yet done that. I am going back and forth with this, with ChatGPT, with another book, And that's what's happening. But I'm feeling okay with it. And here's why. I've been a diviner for a really long time. And I understand sort of the idea. Oh, Michelle's Mystic Corner is good. That's really good because I'm going to be using the cards you made, Michelle. So I'm so glad you're here. Anyway, because I've been a diviner for a long time, I feel like I have some skill, like that is not just tarot skill, but is divination skill that might allow me to pull from multiple sources and make sense of that, where maybe a new diviner would not be able to. What do you think about that?
I was going to say, you're in a little bit, I think, a little bit of a different situation than someone who's just starting out with runes, because as much as you say, I'm here to teach you the runes, we're just talking and we're teaching each other, because you've been doing this, you've been exposed to the runes for quite a while.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you're at a different point, whereas for someone else who might be picking this up for the first time, who has never experienced doing divination with the runes, certainly it's kind of like, for me anyway, the thing that that my mind goes to is like, if you are studying one magical tradition and you're trying to get the color correspondences of the directions, north, east, south, and west, and their elements and stuff, and you're trying to get those firmly implanted into your mind, and then you start studying another magical tradition at the same time that has different correspondences, it will mix you up unless you master the first one and then move on to the second. And so, like, I think it was probably Ivo Dominguez Jr. I said something along the lines of like, you need to work with one until you understand it, and then you work with the next one. Otherwise, you're not forming the links. So it's the same with the runes. And if you are every day getting a contrary opinion on what this rune means, then you're probably going to confuse yourself. But you're in a different boat.
Yeah. I think that is fair. And I mean, as we've talked about in previous months, the runes specifically, I mean, any system other than tarot generally, but the runes specifically have been challenging. And I feel like, just recently, as I've been pulling runes for some in-person clients, they've become less challenging, I think. And so this process has been helpful to me. But you know what? Lenormand has also become less challenging at the same time. And I don't know what it is for me that has shifted, that has made me more willing to step outside of the tarot system and into other systems. But that seems to be happening for me in this moment. But what are your thoughts about like we know there are rune skills, there are tarot skills, all of that. What are your thoughts about what are divination skills broadly?
Yeah. So that was kind of where we ended the very last episode last month, right? And we had like 2 minutes left, and I just said, like, I want to pose a question for people to think about. What is the skill, the overarching skill that translates between different divination tools? And first of all, I'm curious if anybody's watching, if they thought about that and they have an answer to pop into the chat kind of while we're talking about it. But I have like a really short answer, what I think the skill or ability is. And if you'd like, I can just give you that real quick.
I would love to hear what you have to say. I would love to hear what other people have to say. Right. Michelle says divination is the skill. Runes and tarot oracles are the tools. Right. But what is the skill? What is the skill? So Peggy Lou, good to see you, says intuition and openness.
Definitely.
Okay. Michelle says the skill is tapping into the universe and the higher knowledge. Okay. What's yours?
So it's real short, okay, but I do have a story to kind of back it up. But I believe it's the ability to tell a story.
And that's funny because if we tell a story, we are storytellers. And when you think about the word storyteller, there is a way that you can interpret that word to be someone who is telling a story that is not true, which is so often the label that gets put on us erroneously. So that's just funny. But yeah, I think it's that. Dora says, it is like when you can speak a different language. Martha says connection with spirit and reminds us that Jesus was a storyteller. Right. Jesus taught in parables. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Justine says, yeah, that's a toughie. Studying the system, understanding the system, and trusting the strategy you use with the system. But that's really, that really seems like the key is weaving the insights together into helpful information, AKA telling the story, like you said. So yeah, I would say the skill of divination is being able to take the information. Right, Dora says it's the skill of translating symbols. Right? You're using intuition, technique, tapping into spirit, whatever that is. But you're taking the symbols, you're taking all of that, and you're translating it. And Trey says that's why so many writers are tarot readers, and vice versa.
Go figure.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah. And of course, friends, a special shout out to all the members. Thank you all for being members of this channel. Really appreciate you. Martha, there are many ways to tell stories. That's part of why it's so important. Yeah. No, that's beautiful. I love that. So yeah, there's an extrapolation, like that's, if I were sort of writing, what is the skill? It's the ability to extrapolate and put it together in a way that makes sense and in a way that is true and in a way that can be received.
That last part is so crucial. That last part is so crucial. Indeed. Because there are so many times where cards come up or runes come up and they are so, I've had people tell me that like I hurt their feelings a little bit with the story that I put together, and it's not because I was intentionally trying to be mean or anything. It just seemed so matter of fact what the runes were trying to tell me, and perhaps I was rather blunt. And it's hard to frame that in a way sometimes where it can be received.
Yeah, absolutely. Rebecca Dusk says, I think also some good balance between logical mind and intuitive mind for the correct message. Yes. A right brain, left brain thing somewhat. Other than strong flashes of knowing. Right, it's all of those things.
I love hearing all these different interpretations and answers to this question. I think it's such a complicated question that could go in so many different ways.
It really is. Justine says, with divination in general, couldn't we say finding the right way to the inquiry as well? Like the question and all of that.
That also really important. And you, Christiana, are the one who taught me the importance of finding the right question. because there's so many questions that you can ask, and it's like, it comes out and it's like not really what you need. And so sometimes I remember I've come to you and I've asked you a question, and you've said, I'm going to reframe that. And you have put it into a better context and a different question, or there's multiple questions that get asked simultaneously and answered. So finding that question is really important also.
Yeah, and I think that's part of the intuitive process. I think spirit leads that as well. So this is interesting from Trey. I saw Teresa Caputo had her brain studied by a neuroscientist. And when she was channeling, there was literally no activity. Maybe you have to be a blank slate to be a good diviner. Which is so interesting because you go into it with your skill and technique and knowledge, but then you have to take part of that brain away. It's an interesting thing.
On that note, Christiana, there are several times that I blank out during a reading, or I have no recollection of what I just said to someone. There was one reading I gave to someone in person where I didn't recognize the individual that I knew when they sat down. So it just, to some degree, given the right circumstances, my brain just kind of shuts off.
Same. And I think that is sort of proof positive that you're in the right energy to do the work. Mm-hmm. I know that sounds crazy, right? Michelle agrees. I do that and can't remember most of what I said. Yeah, absolutely. Justine has a good question. She is wondering, the questions you ask the runes, is it similar to tarot or Lenormand, or is there some difference to what questions you would bring to the runes versus what questions you would bring to tarot?
Well, I can say that for me, I feel like usually when it's a right now thing in the present energy, that's a rune answer. And when it's what will happen 6 months from now, that's a tarot answer. So a lot of times I will throw runes for what is right now, and I will throw cards for what happened before and what is going to happen later. What do you think?
I'm not well versed enough in reading the runes to have an opinion on that, because I've not really asked any questions. All I have done so far is, let's pull 3 runes to see the energies present at this moment, actually. So to your point.
Mm-hmm.
Martha, for me, it's like trying to be a vessel through which the spirit can flow. I need to get out of the way. Yeah, there it is. Mm-hmm. There it is. So I have another quick question for you, and then we're going to open the floor to readings and see how we do. My question is this. My rune set, and I think many rune sets, come with a blank rune. Can we talk about that?
Yeah, I'd love to.
Okay. I will say this, this has spread to tarot as well. There are some decks that have an unknown card, which just drives me nuts. I hate it. But I know it's meant to be the blank rune. It's the same thing. It's the same energy. So talk to us about it. What is the blank rune, and does it make sense?
Okay, so there's the official name that you'll find for the blank rune. It's actually where we get part of our episode name from, right? It's called the Wyrd, or some people call it Odin's rune, or some people just call it the blank rune. So if you're not familiar with the concept of the Wyrd in Norse mythology, I don't remember if we touched on this before in a previous episode, but it is essentially, and I'm sorry that I'm oversimplifying. It is essentially equivalent kind of to fate. And there are the Wyrd sisters, and they're kind of like the Greek fates, kind of. Not exactly, but kind of. If you understand Greek mythology, you can kind of get a similar vibe going from over there. So the Wyrd rune or the blank rune can represent like fate, things that are going to happen, things that are outside of your control. It can represent the unknowable or the unattainable, or it can also represent endless possibilities. Like it could be anything, like fill in the blank. And personally, I take that out when I do a reading.
Okay. Is there a tradition that demands it, or is it just
No. Okay, so let's remember. And here's kind of like why I get so hung up on it and I want to take it out. Let's remember what the runes are. They are an alphabet.
right? There's no non-letter, there's no null
there's
value
no blank
letter.
That makes no sense. Like I can't, like so, and there's no, I don't want to say there's no tradition, but most of the divinatory assignments that we have slapped onto the runes are modern. They're fairly modern, and a lot of what we do with them is fairly modern. And then somebody decided they wanted to have a blank rune. So I don't personally vibe with it, but when I first started reading, I did. And it was more, and I'm not, I would never say to someone who's learning that they shouldn't use it, because it was perhaps helpful for me when I was starting out. But eventually, after some trial and error, I realized that for me, it wasn't beneficial.
So my issue with the blank card in tarot, and Mediha Ness says, when cards are cut, there's 80 total, so they have to do something with the other 2 cards, right? And so some decks will turn one into the unknown card. Others will turn it into the happy squirrel, which I am absolutely a fan of. But my issue with that is, and it's exactly what Justine said, kind of reminds me of the Wheel of Fortune or something. Like in tarot does not need an unknown card, because we have the Wheel of Fortune, we have the High Priestess, we have the Moon. We have these cards that can say the same thing. My question to you is, I just lost it because I'm really dying over this question from Michelle's Mystic Corner that we're coming to in just one moment. Right, the Fool, exactly. I got it. Trey got me back on. Here we go. My question to you is, among the runes, is there a rune that to you says anything can happen? Which rune would that be?
Perthro.
That's where I would have gone to, the dice cup, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Good.
We already have that unknowable or endless possibilities type of energy current in Perthro. And if you want to talk about the other side of it, which might be like forces outside of your control, that aspect of the Wyrd, that could be Hagalaz. So like, I feel like there are already equivalents in the rune set of those energetic currents, and we don't need one that can be everything.
I completely agree. So Fedborn wants to know, is casting lots the same as runes divination?
I think casting lots is a generalized term for throwing any sort of stones or crystals or sticks with the intention to interpret them symbolically. And I think casting lots would also include like I Ching. I believe that's my understanding. I could be wrong. So
No,
I think, yeah.
That totally makes sense. Totally makes sense. So, Michelle, the happy squirrel. There was an episode of The Simpsons called Lisa's Wedding where they go to a carnival and Lisa sees a fortune teller and gets the death card, and the fortune teller's like, oh, that just means change, no big deal. But then she pulls the happy squirrel, and a whole story ensues from the happy squirrel. And so some modern indie tarot creators have created decks with the happy squirrel and have come up with, what could this possibly mean? And I love that because I love pop culture. So
I'm really glad you explained that, because I didn't know what you were talking about and now I think that is amazing and I want to learn more about it.
Yeah, right. It's, art imitating life, imitating art. Like, it's just this whole thing. All right. So I feel like the time has come for us to put up or shut up. Yeah. So, friends, villagers, it's so good to see all of you here today. You know that very often I come here to do readings for you, as I will again and again and again. We are going to do readings for you today, but I am not using tarot. And it is not our commitment to get to every question as it is for me when I do my live stream readings. This is really about learning and figuring out how the runes are working in real time. So get a question in. Aerik Arkadian, do you have any parameters you want to put around what kinds of questions people can ask?
Well, obviously remember that we are live and it is public. So, only talk about things that you are willing to share to the world and maybe won't get your feelings hurt if the runes decide to be very blunt. But other than that, I would say, let's not even put parameters on it, because I think what is valuable here is that we're kind of stepping through the entire process. So even if somebody asks a really bizarre question that is perhaps not the best thing to have answered, we can go through the process of reframing that question. So kind of like all inclusive of everything that goes through the mind of the diviner as they hear the question from the querent.
Perfect. So get those questions in. Rebecca finally got a deck with a happy squirrel card. That is very cool. Trey says, I can take a punch. And Trey, okay, here's Trey's question. I feel kind of at a crossroads right now. I don't know what to do with my life. Any advice from the runes?
Ooh.
What would you do with this?
So, personally, if I had that kind of question, I think I would just pull one rune. But if I was reading for someone, I think I would probably do 3. And let me give a little bit of a caveat here, because what I'm talking about right now is in the realm of putting runes into spreads, kind of like we do with tarot cards, right? But when I usually read with runes, I throw them and I don't put them into spreads. So it is a little bit different. But if we're doing a simple question and answer, a spread can be a really good tool for that. You just have to figure out what kind of spread. So without rambling on about this far too long, I think I would do a 3-card spread in the sense of problem, advice, outcome. Or,
okay.
intended outcome if you follow the advice? What comes to your mind when you hear that kind of question?
For me, I would probably be inclined, if it were tarot, I would just pull 3 cards and not have positions for them. Just be like, what do we see? And so I might do the same thing with runes.
And you know, in the sense of reframing the question, I feel like, you know, you're at a crossroads. Like, why are you feeling that disconnect and directionlessness? I think that's very important to get.
I'm sorry, I interrupted you, but that's so smart. Like, what about a 3-card reading for Trey? Like, here's the spread, right? What has led up to being at this crossroads? What has created this? What do you need to know in order to find your next step? 2. It's a 2 rune reading. What do you think about that?
I love it. And that was, you know, essentially when I said the problem, advice, answer, 3 rune spread is basically what I was, those were the first 2. And so the third would just be, here's maybe where you can get if you follow that solution.
So let's do that. So yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. So why don't I pull it? So we're going to do, so problem, advice, and that's where you're going. I just had to reword it, but you're absolutely right. I'll pull them using the deck created by Michelle's Mystic Corner, and you can help me. Okay. So here we go. Problem, Anzus.
Oh.
Advice, Manos.
Ooh. That's so appropriate.
And then that final outcome, Perthro. So I have some thoughts, but you know, you're like, oh my gosh, that's so appropriate. Please speak.
Well, you know, Manas is the self and humanity and stuff like that, but it's also the relation of the self to the rest of the world. And so I just feel like it's your location. It is your vector. And for someone who is having issues finding what direction they should go, that's a really appropriate advice rune in terms of finding that vector and really meditating on your relation to the world around you and the other people in the world around you. And it's especially interesting, I think, when it is paired with Anzus, because that is communication. It's the spoken word, you know, literally the mouth. And Anzus can also be wisdom or seeking advice. So it's like there is the problem right there, rephrased as a rune. Lacking the necessary advice as to where you're supposed to go. Perhaps there is, and you know, we were in a face-to-face reading with someone. We wouldn't just be talking words at them. We'd be asking questions too. And I think that's really important because we only have 24 runes. They encompass every different possible human emotion and feeling. So we'd probably ask questions like, do you feel like there is a blockage in communication or something? But that's what's sticking out to me right now. So the problem is inability to communicate or receive the communication about where you're supposed to be going. And the advice is more related to figuring out your individual position of the self within the greater whole so that you can find your vector. Now, did you have any thoughts on that as well?
I do. And I want to throw this out to you. One of the things that I know to be true about Trey is he's a writer. And so I look at like Anzu's being the mouth, being the voice. I'm thinking about it from a perspective of writing, and in two ways. If this is the problem, on one hand, like if we talk about like direction for your life, what role should writing take or not take? Like that really is a question. But then there's also like, if you have the heart and soul of a writer, there's always going to be a certain amount of misery in your life. Like that's just how it is. And then there's the thing of with manas, like if you're writing and you're writing for publication, literally your voice, your word, your mouth going to all of mankind. But then I would also say, well, write a great book, get it published, and luck will be with you. I would also say that.
Yeah, I dig that. And it's like Perthro representing all of those, when you roll the dice and you win. Right.
There's a song in my head from like 1990, 1991. It was like a Rush song. Roll the bones, just encouraging one to just take the risk, take the chance. And so I would say then, and check me on this, Aerik, I would say to Trey, do the thing. I would say do the thing that you really, really want to do and expect to be successful. And Trey comes back and says, well, that's cool. Thanks, Aerik and Christiana. Maybe I won't be a starving artist. Right. Right. Do not fear the starvation. Exactly. Okay, so that was fun. So let's see. Who is coming up next? Martha Vank. Okay, so full disclosure on Martha Vank. Martha Vank and I have known each other since I was 14 and she was 15. We met at Methodist summer camp. We are both the daughters of Methodist ministers, and she herself is a Methodist minister and a member of this channel. And was at StaarCon, so you may have met her at StaarCon.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so Martha Vank is looking for a message from Spirit, just a general message, a message from Spirit. How would you handle that?
My gut is telling me that is a 1 rune pull. And it's just going to be, that is what you need to know right now. Because that message from Spirit is what you need to know right now, what you need to be aware of or focus on.
Okay, do you want to do that?
Yeah, so here, I will pull one. We didn't have a plan for this, guys.
No,
We're
we
just
didn't.
kind of
Well, we
working
did.
it out.
We had a plan, which was to wing it.
To figure it out. Yes.
That was the plan.
Yes, because that's more fun. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Here we go. Aerik.
So that's one. As I was going through, okay, this is full disclosure. As I was going through my beautiful rune deck, getting ready for this, that was one I was hoping would not come up for me because I don't understand it at all. So go.
Okay. Man, it's a weird rune. Okay. Let's just throw that out there too, because it's one of it's one of the ones that maybe like the meaning was shifted from another letter and they can never quite agree on exactly what the translation was originally. So it can be a difficult one to read. I understand what you mean by that. And a lot of people, we can't even agree on how to say the name of it. So it can mean stability, or what's coming, like endurance, stability, but what's kind of sticking out to me is stay on course. So what you need to be aware of right now is that whatever you're doing, keep doing that. Head in that same direction, even though maybe you're having some doubts or you're asking some questions about which way you should face, but keep moving forward.
I actually like that. Just, thinking like some things that I know about Martha's path right now. There are a few things going on where there may be things that Martha feels she needs to do that other people don't want her to do. Or there may be things that Martha feels she needs to do that feel challenging. Right. And now Martha's like, okay, yeah, very appropriate. All right. Got it. All right. Smile Soul 20 is looking for a general reading. So shall we do the same thing? And this time I'll pull one card and we'll see what happens for Smile Soul 20. Okay. Fehu. Okay. Yeah, easy. So, Smile Soul 20, this is literally the card of wealth. And I know for a fact that you probably don't have as much of this as you would like. But I would see this message from Spirit as one encouraging you to keep working, to keep trying, to build and create the life that you want, that all of that is possible for you. What do you think, Aerik?
I agree 100% with that. It's Fehu, upright. You hit it.
Perfect. Now, I have not, and this is funny because I am a reversals reader with tarot. And I have not been playing with reversals at all with the runes.
Okay, so we must be on the same wavelength here, right now, because I was just going to ask you that question. I was just going to ask you, are you pulling them all out?
Well,
upright, are you going to reorient them?
I have, because of the shape of the cards, I can make sure that they're all upright. And so I am. Is that bad? Am I bad?
No. I mean, there's no reason that you have to. But so here, like, I think one of the really, I don't know, I find it exciting how many different things that the runes can represent. And so remember that every idea exists on a spectrum. So when we have wealth, we also have lack of wealth. And Fehu is representative of both of those things. And it can mean either one of the extremes or anything in between. So that's where it gets really interesting. And you can read all upright runes if you want. I like to view their orientation to each other, whether they're up or down. It gets a little bit more complicated when you do things like that. But I think as long as you understand that they exist on the entire spectrum, it's fine whether you pull it up or you pull it down, because sometimes, I don't know if this is true for you too, Christiana, but sometimes when I throw out the reversed card or the reversed rune, it doesn't feel like it should be reversed. And I flip it I flip it back.
Absolutely, yes.
In the context of the reading, it's like, no, this I threw that out wrong. That was my fault. That's not,
Absolutely.
that's not spirit. So.
Absolutely. I agree. I absolutely agree. All right. Over on Instagram, Lenny B is looking for a general reading. One card?
Yeah, one card.
Okay.
I'll pull it this time.
Perfect.
Okay. What we got?
Oh, Nothies?
Mm-hmm.
And it's reversed. So what are you going to do with that?
Okay, so Nothies is like the thing that you need in the moment, or it's an emergency or something like that. Those are big keywords that I think we talked about that on the last episode.
Yes, we did. We did.
Runes you don't want to see, right? Okay, so in the reverse position, it can, I think like the simplest form just for a quick reading would be that there was something poorly planned, and you are maybe feeling the result of that right now. If you're not feeling the result of that right now, double check to make sure that there is nothing that is poorly planned, because otherwise it's going to catch up with you. And just, it's not the end of the world. And you can keep going and pick yourself back up and plan things out a little bit better next time, if that's the type of situation you're in. What do you think?
I am wondering, and just let me know if this could also make sense with that. The directive to do an internal inventory about the meeting of your needs. What are your needs? Ooh. Are they being met? I would go there too. Would that make sense?
Yeah, I think you extrapolated beautifully into that. I see the connection there. Yeah, that is so. It's like the advice that is given from this could be certainly to make that inventory, because something, I think that goes along with the idea that in the sense that things were not planned out to meet the needs, even if that's emotional needs, right? So that needs to be spelled out clearly and meditated on to move forward.
Excellent. Oh, and Lenny's like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. Okay, cool. So Dora has a question. Now, you're working with rune cards. So even a rune like Isa that is just a straight line can be reversed in that deck. But if we're working with rune stones or, tiles or whatever, some cannot be reversed. What do we do with that?
So that is really interesting, because even if like Aihwaz had come out like this in that previous reading where the text is upside down on the card, I would not have read it as a reversal, because I see that as a rune that cannot be reversed, just like Isa or Hagalaz or Yera. There are many of these runes that, they can't be reversed, but they still represent the entire spectrum of that current of energy. So sometimes, and I feel like you have an interesting word for this in tarot, Christiana. I think you say dignified?
Dignity, right. Dignity or aspect, right.
So sometimes they come out and they're at the bad end of that, even though they can't be reversed. But when it comes out and it's that gut feeling, it's that whisper from spirit or the intuition or whatever you want to call it, it's that pushes you in one direction or the other, for me.
Same. And Mediha Ness points out, like if you've got round runes They could even be like at a tilt or on their side or whatever, same way we read round cards. Would you play with that? Would you be like, well, that feels a little forced or it's a little off? Like, how much would you play with that?
Like to the fullest extent that you can play with something like that. And actually, I mean, I'm gonna probably talk way more in depth about that during my class next month, because that's one of the reasons that I love just throwing the runes so that they can land however they're going to land. They can point to each other. They can have little subgroupings within the way that they land, or they can be at a 45-degree angle. So like, just to throw out a random example here, right? Like, let's say that we were just talking about Anzus, which is communication or the mouth or spoken word, right? Let's say it landed at a 45-degree angle pointing off to the left. So it's not quite on its side. It's not reversed, but it's almost like clockwise. It's coming up to the upright position. At least that's how I might see it if it landed that way. And so then it's growth. It's that aspect of it that is building. It's building your skills at communication, or it's a call to action to build your skills of communication. And so absolutely, yes, my rune set is circles, slices of birch wood. So they're all circular. And when I throw them, they all come out however they want to come out. And I look at all of that.
Perfect. I love that. Okay. As I said in the beginning, we're not going to get to everybody's question today, but I know that we have to do Michelle's Mystic Corner because she made these, so it would be really rude if I didn't read for her with her cards while she is here, right? But here's the question. How do I get my tarot business into a profitable career? I would sort of want to say how it's going now. If you do absolutely nothing else and just keep doing exactly what you're doing, how it will go, what you could introduce to make it go better more quickly. What do you think about that?
Yeah. So just to rephrase what I heard, because I think what is happening right now is really interesting, and the spread is being created based on the question that's asked, and it's almost like you're divining what spread to use as you're pulling, right? So how it's going now, how it will go if you change nothing, and then what to change if you want it to go better. Is that kind of okay? Yeah. I dig that.
Okay, so here we go.
Okay.
How it's going now. Isa, we don't love that. We don't love that.
No.
If we change nothing, how it will go. It was.
Okay.
And what to change to make it go better, or what to do differently. Menas. Can I take a stab at this and tell me what you think?
Please.
And if you think I'm off, tell me. And Michelle's Mystic Corner, if you think I'm off, tell me. Clearly, you're not getting the traction that you want. And if you keep going, I think there will be improvement, but not to the extent that you want. Like, you are right to ask this question. These cards tell us that you're right to ask the question. And I wonder if there is some part of you that is not trusting yourself, trusting your knowledge, trusting your voice. And if that causes your voice to not be heard by enough people. That there is something here about needing to, like, you need more eyes on you. That's where I'm going with manas. We need all of mankind to see you, essentially. But with Iwas, there is almost a defensiveness that I get from this, which makes me wonder, if you are your own worst enemy in this problem. And if you could get out of your own way by getting in the view of others, things would be better. Now, Michelle says, this hits home. I don't trust myself. What do you think about where I went with these 3 runes?
I love it. And I think I was like on a parallel road to you. So when you pulled Ewas, I almost thought of like a really slow trotting horse. And so, right? So like we don't love Isa and how it's going now, because it's a little bit of stagnancy. And then if you change nothing, it's gonna move, and it is steadily moving, but that horse is slow. It's not getting to where you want to go when you want it to go there. And then manas, yes, like you said, we need all eyes on you, but also in the relation to, and I would never say you're not in the right peer group, because you're here and this is a great group. So, but it's also those people who we surround ourselves with who are successful, and there perhaps needs to be more of that. So yes, more eyes from the outside, but then also you in relation to the others who do that same thing that you're trying to do, if that makes sense.
Michelle says that is actual truth. So yeah, that makes sense.
Perfect.
So we are in our last 2 minutes. So to the people that we did not get to, I am so sorry. This is a teaching session, so we're taking questions to use as examples. We're not going to do this in August, but we will be back in September, probably with a very similar format.
Yeah, this is fun.
So, yeah. So if you did not get your reading this time, please come back next time and preface your request with, I did not get a reading last time, and we'll make you first. And I do appreciate all of you so very much. Thank you for being here. Aerik Arkadian, thank you so much for taking time, for sharing your wisdom here. What I've learned today in a lot of ways is when we talk about, going back to that question of what is that skill of divination? It is to allow the inspiration to marry the knowledge and flow with the intuition. And thank you for helping me find that with the runes.
It's so fun to have these conversations with you, Christiana. So, thank you for having this platform that we can do this.
Oh my gosh. And that in turn, thanks to all the members, the moderators, everyone for being here, for your support. There are links right in the description for Aerik Arkadian, which is AerikArkadian.com. He has a class coming up. You can take the live class and get the recordings of the first 2 classes all in one package. So check that out. He also is one of the few people other than me that I know who does a weekly newsletter.
That's true.
Yep.
Every Monday.
every Monday. Mine comes out every Wednesday. Aerik's comes out every Monday. So get to his website, sign up for the newsletter. And of course, if you're not signed up for mine, sign up for mine as well.
We'll do that too.
Absolutely. My friends, I appreciate all of you. Thank you so much. We will see you all again really soon. Take care. Be
Bye.
good.